I got pregnant with my mortal enemy's kid and ran away while pregnant. Years later, my son accidentally scratched a Cullinan parked on the street. My enemy got out of the car. Whose brat is this? No manners at all. I grabbed my son and said angrily, his dad died early, cut us some slack. Later, when he learned the truth, he went crazy, shouting, how dare you curse me dead? His dad is very much alive. 1. Ha, Adwan, is that really you? Seeing my longtime enemy step out of the Cullinan, I just wanted to disappear. My son, of all the cars parked on the street, he had to scratch this living devil's. Wasn't he just asking for trouble? I forced a smile, trying to keep calm. What a coincidence. 5 years apart, and to meet like this. Williams lowered his proud eyelashes, glanced at Davey behind me, and asked, whose kid is that? Davey shrank behind me, scared. I said, mine. Williams' smile froze. You're married? Well, I'm a normal alpha. Getting married and having kids isn't unusual, is it? Williams' eyes darkened as he looked behind me, as if searching for something missing. Finally, he grumbled, is this how you normally raise your kid? His dad died early, cut us some slack. When Williams heard my spouse was dead, a smug look crossed his face. Which unlucky Omega did you kill? I had no patience for more talk. He didn't know I had shifted into an Omega, and I didn't plan to tell him. If that's all, I'm leaving. I pulled Davey and left. Suddenly, he called after me. Back then, why did you run off without a word? I paused. I knew what he meant. Let's not talk about the past. We're both alphas, no one lost anything. Do you expect me to be responsible for you? Williams was speechless. That night of madness years ago. I watched Williams asleep, then jumped up in bed. I had just shifted into an Omega and had slept with my mortal enemy. If that got out, Williams' gang would laugh their heads off. To protect the tiny shred of dignity I had left, I fled. Not long after, even worse news came. I was pregnant. Nothing was scarier than that. Was I supposed to run to Williams and say, hey, I'm pregnant and the kid's yours? I couldn't do it. So I ran away. 2. Williams and I parted on bad terms. After he left, the staff handed me a bill. Williams said no compensation at first, but after seeing you, he changed his mind. He says not a penny less, it's up to you. Seeing the amount, my head started throbbing again. A huge bill I couldn't afford. The staff curiously asked, did you offend Williams? I nodded helplessly. Williams and I had always been at odds, every meeting turned into a fight. Now that he found an excuse, he wouldn't let me off easy. Davey knew he was really in trouble and whimpered, Dad, what should I do? Maybe you can sell me for money and pay Uncle back. 3. This time I came back to the coastal city to attend my father's funeral. I didn't expect to run into this. When I left years ago, I swore I'd never come back. But a few days ago, my mom called, saying Dad passed away, asking me to come home for his last rites. Honestly, I didn't want to, but he was my father, so I gave in. Dad never liked me since I was little. No matter what I did, I was always second to my brother in his eyes. After I shifted into an Omega, he tried to use me as a political tool, marrying me off to a man older than my grandfather. I wasn't willing, so I went to bars to drink away my frustration. But someone drugged my drink. In the end, it was Williams who rescued me. He didn't know I had shifted into an Omega. Under my pheromones' influence, his heat period came early. After that day, Williams and I never saw each other again, so he didn't know I was carrying his child. He called Davey ill-mannered. I couldn't deny it, that was my fault for not disciplining him enough. The biggest regret of my life was having Davey. After he was born, struggling to make ends meet, I had no choice but to send him to daycare. I don't know whose genes he inherited, but he's never been easy. Talking back to teachers and fighting with classmates was normal for him. He brought me a lot of trouble. My little salary couldn't even cover the damages he caused. 4. My father's funeral was rushed through. My older brother, upset that I got pregnant before marriage, refused to let me stay at home. He still held a grudge over my runaway wedding. He said if I hadn't fled, Dad wouldn't have been so upset all the time, which worsened his tumor. Even if he hadn't said it, I had no intention of staying there. I took Davey to a nearby hotel to stay, planning to say goodbye to my mother early the next morning and then figure out how to pay off William's debt. That night, Davey refused to sleep. I got annoyed trying to soothe him and snapped at him a few times. He pursed his lips and pulled out 2 crumpled $100 bills. Seeing the money, I got even angrier. Where did you get this? Only after I scolded him did Davey confess what happened that day. Sorry, Dad, I didn't scratch the car. A guy gave me $200 and told me to stand there until the owner came back, then the money's mine. Ugh, he even tricked a kid, ugh. After I understood, I poked his not-so-bright head. Next time, be smarter. Nothing in this world is that cheap. Davey got upset. Dad, your birthday's coming up, I just wanted to earn money to buy you a gift. He got more and more upset and finally broke down crying. Between sobs he said, the city's full of tricks. Dad, let's go home. I comforted him, once this is all settled, we'll go home. This ordeal left a deep mark on Davey's mind. He cried until midnight before finally falling asleep. Once he was asleep, I took a quick shower and went to bed. The next morning, I was woken by knocking at the door. I hadn't requested room service this early, who could it be? I wanted to ignore it, but the knocking wouldn't stop. Afraid of waking Davey, I got up to open the door. When I saw who it was, I froze for a few seconds before snapping out of it. How did you find this place? William's gaze swept past me, taking in the surroundings with obvious disdain. Figured you might skip out on paying, so I came to keep an eye on you. I glanced at the time, just before 6 in the morning. If I wanted to run, I'd have done it overnight, why give him a chance to trap me? Don't worry, I owe money to plenty of people, but never to you. No need to watch me like a criminal. I tried to close the door, but Williams stuck his foot in, blocking it. Before I could shut it, his huge frame pushed inside. He said matter-of-factly, I still don't trust you, you slipped out from under my nose 5 years ago. I was speechless. Who runs if they have another choice? He sat down on the couch and made himself at home. How come I never noticed you had such thick skin? Williams said lazily, if having thick skin could keep what I want, I might as well try. He found a comfortable spot, acting like this was his territory. I knew it wasn't about money for him, this was just spite to annoy me. I don't have that kind of money right now. No money, huh? He crossed his legs and raised his eyelids at me. Say something nice, maybe I'll be in a good mood and forget about making you pay. Who was he trying to insult? I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to punch him right in the face. He glanced around the room, then showed concern for Davey. What about that little freeloader? 5. I peeked into the room where Davey was still sound asleep. He'd been crying all night and only fell asleep from exhaustion. It was still early, so he probably wouldn't wake anytime soon. I knew that until this debt was settled, Williams would haunt me non-stop. Seeing me about to leave, Williams thought I was trying to escape and followed me. You don't want that freeloader anymore? I ignored him and left under his complicated gaze. I wasn't about to be the fool who just gives away 200 grand. I checked the surveillance at the scene from yesterday, but the security guard said the cameras nearby had been broken for a week and still weren't fixed. Frustrated, I kicked a pole by the road, pain shot up, making me gasp. So this trouble wasn't going anywhere. Empty-handed, I got back to the hotel past 9. Usually, if Davey woke up and didn't find me home, he'd call immediately, but today the phone was eerily silent. I often thought it would have been better if I'd never had him. Because of him, my life was a mess. Soon enough, I paid the price for that thought. When I returned to the hotel room, the door was wide open. Williams, who had been clinging stubbornly, was gone, and Davey was missing too. 6. Just as I was at a loss, my phone rang. It was Davey's little genius smartwatch. I hurried to answer. On the other end was William's voice. "Where's Davey? How did his watch end up with you?" Williams sounded impatient. "I've kidnapped him, okay? What do you want?" "Enough talk. If you want to find out, come to this address." He sent me a hospital location. I didn't hesitate and rushed there by taxi. When I arrived at the ward, I heard a doctor scolding inside. "How can you be such a terrible parent? The kid's been burning up like this and you just brought him now, so irresponsible." Williams explained helplessly, "I told you 100 times, the kid's not mine." He denied the relationship, but the doctor wasn't blind. The kid's eyes, nose, even the expression between his brows looked like a copy. That excuse was hard to believe. "If the kid's not yours, then whose is he?" "Williams, I found him." The doctors shook their head, treating Williams like an irresponsible father. Williams didn't notice the strange looks, just calming the kid down was enough to overwhelm him. Davey felt sick, surrounded by strangers. He wanted to cry but didn't dare, he just sobbed quietly. Williams had never cared for a child before, he was a mess, like being at war. He didn't know whether to soothe Davey or give him medicine first. Luckily, a kind nurse helped him out. After the medicine, Davey stopped fussing and obediently leaned on Williams' shoulder. Williams was patient enough not to shoo him away. When Davey saw me, he looked utterly heartbroken, tears streaming down like broken pearls. "Dad!" Williams, like a natural, gently patted his back. "You really are a mama's boy, changing your tune so fast." Davey eagerly reached out to me. Only then did Williams realize something was off and turned around to see me. He reluctantly handed Davey over. I took Davey from Williams, feeling the heat radiating off him. Davey's body was burning, like a little furnace. Not finding him at the hotel had crushed me. All the worst thoughts ran through my mind. I thought I'd never see him again. Seeing him again was like a huge weight lifting off my chest. The doctor said Davey had a fever caused by a change of environment and needed to stay hospitalized for observation. Looking at my nearly empty bank balance, I sank into thought. There were so many expenses lately I couldn't cover. Now Davey was sick. After paying the medical bills, I wouldn't even have rent money next month. Davey didn't want to be a burden and forced himself to sit up. "Dad, I want to go home. I don't want to stay in the hospital." I pushed him back down on the bed. At that moment, Williams came over and said, bragging, "Helped you again, how will you thank me?" I wasn't in the mood to argue. "Thanks, I'll treat you to a meal sometime." Williams said, "No need to wait, how about today? Your cooking's good, right? Then just make me that, noodles. I want to strangle you, you idiot." He really acts like he owns the place. 7. I refused him, saying Davey was sick and needed care. But I underestimated how shameless he could be. He took it upon himself to discharge Davey from the hospital, claiming his family had a professional private doctor who could fully treat Davey. Davey, with that crooked arm of his, brightened up when he heard he didn't have to stay in the hospital. In a babyish voice, he said, "Uncle, but we don't have money to pay you." Williams teased him, "Then your dad can cook for me every day to pay off the debt." Davey immediately pushed him away, "Don't bully my dad. At least he still had some conscience." Maybe because of their blood relation, Williams was unusually patient with Davey. "Uncle knows he was wrong. My family has a housekeeper, so your dad doesn't need to cook for me. It's all my fault for speaking too quickly. Davey, can you forgive me just this once because I'm so hungry?" Davey was smart and reluctantly said, "All right, then." Williams showed a triumphant smile and easily picked up Davey with one hand. Seeing him about to leave with Davey, I hurried after them. Honestly, I didn't like Davey being around Williams. He was a narcissistic, arrogant guy. If he found out I had his child, Who knows how he'd mock me? The thought made my scalp tingle. I haven't agreed yet. Give Davey back. Ignoring my protests, Williams got into the nanny car holding Davey. Davey, who was sick just moments ago, now giggled at the driver's jokes. Williams even showed a rare warmth on his face. The harmony between them made me feel like the outsider. Now I finally understood whose genes Davey inherited, just like his dad. I really didn't want to owe anyone anything, but being broke, I had no choice but to grit my teeth and get in the car. The car slowly drove through the quiet streets. I was no longer affected by pheromones, but I still caught Williams deliberately releasing calming pheromones for Davey. Under his soothing, Davey nestled in his arms and fell asleep. The car grew quiet again. I looked at Williams. The slanting light outside the window outlined the wild contours of his sharp, handsome face. He wasn't a gentle, refined gentleman but carried an untamable wildness, radiating an irresistible sense of dominance. I couldn't help but ask, "Why are you helping me?" Williams smirked, "I'm just afraid you'd skip out on your debt. That's all." That line again. He's always like this, so annoying. Back in school, he often used his tall stature to bully and intimidate me. He wouldn't let anyone hang out with me. When I had a boyfriend, he tried to steal him. Since I never fought back, he only pushed harder. He even reached into my lunchbox, saying my food smelled better and insisted on swapping meals. He didn't know I was allergic to seafood. Every time he took my lunch, I ended up starving. Then he'd ask, "Why do you eat meat but never get fat?" He was so obnoxious. After class, when I had to rush to help my mom at the restaurant, he always made me stay behind to run errands or pick up balls. Coming home late meant getting yelled at by my mom, cold shoulders from my dad, and reproaches from my brother. Because of him, no one dared play with me during all 3 years of high school. Later, I decided I wouldn't tolerate him anymore. I resisted, but it didn't work out. 8. The car stopped at a luxurious European-style estate. It looked grand and magnificent. Gardens, fountains, sculptures, I'd only ever seen those in parks. Davey, who had napped in the car, was now full of energy. He couldn't help but marvel, "Dad, are we entering a palace?" I was amazed too. I knew Williams came from money, but I hadn't expected this much. Davey turned into a little fanboy, his eyes filled with admiration as he looked at Williams. "Uncle, can we really live in a palace?" Williams said, "Of course, stay as long as you want." "Thank you, Uncle. You're so good to me and Dad." I felt a pang in my chest. I thought Williams was just an ordinary rich second generation, but he was even richer than I imagined. He bullied me in school, and now he was constantly one-up on me. He and Davey had only known each other a short time but already got along so well. I feared that if Davey ever found out Williams was his dad, he'd leave me. I was selfish, I wouldn't allow that to happen. I snatched the luggage back from the driver and grabbed Davey, ready to leave. Williams pulled me back. "What's wrong now?" I suddenly remembered something important I haven't done yet. I made up a vague excuse. "That's easy. The driver can take you, and the kid stays here." Williams moved to take Davey. Thinking he wanted to snatch him, I pushed him away in a panic. "He's mine. You can't take him." "What?" Williams' hand froze mid-air. The air went still. Calming down, I realized how badly I'd lost control. As I worried about how to cover my lie, a Rolls-Royce pulled up outside. A refined, gentle man got out, Williams' Omega father, Patrick. Williams' domineering, rebellious personality was the complete opposite of his courteous, elegant dad. Patrick said, "Guests come to the house, why not invite them inside?" Williams had already forgotten what I'd said and locked his gaze on me, complaining, "She doesn't want to." Patrick looked at me, then at Davey, and finally back to Williams. "The illegitimate kid outside is already this big, and only now you bring him home to see me?" Williams blushed. "What are you talking about? That's his kid with another Omega." "Is that so?" Patrick smiled mysteriously. "Why don't you ask him yourself?" Williams said bitterly. How can an alpha have a kid? Patrick just smiled and said nothing. I tensed up, unsure what to do, sweat running down my back. I felt like Patrick saw right through me. To clear the doubt, I explained proactively. Uncle, you misunderstood. The child is from me and my husband. It has nothing to do with Williams. Davey nodded along eagerly and added, my dad is already dead. Davey had great language skills from a young age, his clear, penetrating baby voice could be heard by everyone present. I stroked Davey's fluffy head and praised him, good boy. Oh, sorry. Looks like I made a mistake. Patrick finally realized his misunderstanding. I silently breathed a sigh of relief. Though the doubt was lifted, I still couldn't avoid staying at the estate. Davey's health couldn't handle constant moving, and William's warm invitation left me no choice but to stay for now. Williams hadn't lied. Under the care of their arranged doctor, Davey recovered quickly. But another frightening thing quietly happened. Davey was easygoing and got along with everyone, quickly winning Patrick's favor. The closer Davey got to them, the more anxious I became. Right now, my only thought was to get Davey out of there as soon as possible. 9. This debt weighed on my chest like a heavy stone, making it hard to breathe. After much thought, I finally called Ion. Ion has been my childhood friend, and I truly hate to ask him for help unless it's absolutely necessary. When he heard I needed to borrow money, he agreed immediately without hesitation. I promised him I would repay it soon. Ion said, no need to be so polite with me. Just pay me back whenever you can. Thank you. After hanging up, I noticed William standing behind me with a dark expression. Why didn't you come to me if you needed money? I found it ridiculous and ignored him as if he were invisible. I had never been this happy, because soon, I would be free from him. 10. On Army Day, Patrick took Davey to tour a battleship. When Davey came back, he was overjoyed, happier than going to a children's amusement park, and excitedly described everything he saw to me. Suddenly, Patrick started talking about Davey's schooling. Is the child going to school? Yes, he's in middle class at kindergarten. Patrick continued, raising a child alone must have been tough all these years. I wasn't sure what he wanted to know but replied normally, it's manageable. Patrick said, Davey has a natural talent and sensitivity. He has the potential to become a starship commander. I wasn't sure if he was hinting at something. I knew with my current situation, I couldn't provide Davey with a good education. Thank you for your concern. I'll do my best to give him the best education possible. Patrick nodded approvingly, I believe you can raise him into a talented person. After talking with him, I became even more determined to leave here as soon as possible. At that moment, Williams returned carrying Davey. Patrick shifted the topic and asked, have you considered remarrying to share some of the burden? I glanced at Williams and replied, not for now, but I would consider it if the right person comes along. Patrick took out a stack of photos and sorted through them. I have several eligible, high-quality omegas here. You're still young and delicate looking, I'm sure they'd like you. He handed me the photos, take a look. I was quite shocked when I saw the pictures. I hadn't expected Patrick to be interested in others' marriages. But I was clear about my situation and didn't want to trouble anyone. The omegas in the photos looked young and fresh, each vibrant and glowing. I had developed into an omega from a fully matured alpha, so naturally, I couldn't compare. Even after becoming an omega, it would be hard for others to discover my secret. When I flipped to the second photo, Williams suddenly came over and snatched the pictures from my hand. How lonely are you to even pick those? Look at yourself, who would want a twice-divorced woman with a kid? I didn't know what had gotten into him. If Patrick hadn't been there, I'd have clashed with him. Though I didn't intend to remarry, I hated his meddling. This is my personal matter. Aren't you meddling a bit too much? Williams went silent, losing all his sharpness. I took the photos back. Patrick didn't side with Williams. He said, pursuing happiness is never wrong. Don't listen to his nonsense. Follow your own heart. Williams. Because of William's appearance, the topic ended there. That night, Williams came back drunk, his loud drunken antics audible throughout the large estate. Ion, punctual as ever, transferred the money to my account. 11. Early the next morning, I woke Davey. He was still sleepy, barely able to open his eyes. I told him about our plan to leave, and Davey quietly got up to pack his bag. It seemed he had long been prepared to leave with me any time. His reaction surprised me. I thought that after enjoying a comfortable life, Davey wouldn't want to return to that dark corner. I felt a little guilty. What if one day you find out your alpha father isn't dead, that he's a wealthy man, and he wants you to stay with him? Would you want to? Davey pouted, close to tears but holding back. Dad, please don't leave me. I'll behave from now on. I won't fight with classmates anymore. Hearing his answer, I felt an ache in my heart. But all this was in the future. For their noble family, having a child out of wedlock was a shame. Williams wouldn't let a cheap son ruin his family's honor. Besides, he would marry and have children later. I put down my bank card and left with Davey. God knows how decisively I left that day. 12. That day Ion came to pick me up. He said I was foolish for rushing to give money away when I knew Davey hadn't damaged the car. I felt stupid too, but Williams kept bringing it up to trap me from leaving. I was afraid he'd discover Davey's secret. Even unwilling, I became that fool. A narcissist like him, if he found out I'd had his child, who knows how he'd mock me. When Williams woke up, he called me. I didn't answer, but he persistently sent messages. Did what I said yesterday hurt you? I'm sorry. I apologize. Please pick up my call, okay? I must have been hallucinating to see Williams begging like that. Failing to reach me, he called Davey. Davey looked at me and asked, Dad, can I answer? I rubbed his head. Go ahead, say goodbye properly. Davey eagerly tapped the green call button. As soon as the call connected, he cheerfully shouted, Uncle, are you awake? Does your head hurt? The voice on the other end was hoarse. No, it doesn't. Where did you and Dad go? We went home, of course. We miss you. Thanks for taking care of us. I had so much fun these days. I had no idea where Davey learned to be so slick with words, but it seemed the hospitality hadn't been wasted. Uncle misses you too. Can you let your dad take the phone? I want to talk to him. Davey looked up at me and said, Dad, Uncle misses us and wants to talk to you. Davey's translation made me laugh and cry. Before I could say anything, William's voice came through. Adwan, you really are heartless. I didn't know what I had done to offend him again. What did I do to you? Do you think I'm short of money? I said, you're not. You just want to humiliate me. You've succeeded, happy now? Williams fell silent. There was a long pause on the line. Suddenly, he called out my name again, Adwan. Can I chase after you? 13. If what I just heard was an illusion, then is my hearing failing too? His words shifted so quickly, I almost couldn't keep up. What kind of nonsense are you spouting now? I'm serious. His voice was choked, making it hard to tell if he was truthful. After a brief silence, I asked, have you been drinking? Adwan, do you think I'm joking with you? Honestly, that's exactly what I thought. I couldn't imagine any reason for him to say that except to mess with me. Just as I was puzzled, a deafening screech of brakes shattered the silence. A heavy truck suddenly swerved wildly in front of us. Ion slammed on the steering wheel and made a sharp turn to avoid the truck. I quickly shielded Davey. The car finally stopped after crashing into a roadside guardrail. After a brief feint, I slowly came to. Ion shook me anxiously, eyes wide with fear. You're bleeding a lot. I struggled to focus. Where's Davey? Ion's voice came softly in my ear. Davey's fine. You protected him well. Relieved to hear Davey was safe, I exhaled and then lost consciousness again. 14. When I woke again, I was in the hospital. I thought I was hallucinating once more when I saw Williams. He sat quietly in the chair beside me, head in his hands, shoulders trembling as he sobbed shamelessly. Was he crying? I'd known him a long time, but this was the first time I saw his vulnerable side. It had to be a dream or a hallucination. But the sharp pain in my body told me otherwise. This was real. Though unable to move, I couldn't help but tease him a little when I saw him like this. I'm not dead yet, and here you are crying like you're at a funeral. Hearing my voice, Williams looked up quickly. Instead of his usual teasing, he ran over and hugged me tightly. His big frame pressed against my wound, and I cried out in pain. Williams immediately let go, panicked. Did I hurt you? Once I recovered, I pushed him away. Was he trying to kill me by making sure my injuries weren't serious enough? Otherwise, why hadn't he even given me a sip of water after I'd been awake so long? I suspected him with some malice in my mind. What are you doing here? Where's Davey? Mentioning Davey, he hesitated. He's with my father. You don't need to worry. Only then did my heart calm down a bit. But I noticed Williams staring at me. There was clear pity in his eyes. His gaze made me tense up. Why are you staring like that? After a moment's silence, Williams asked, when did you turn into an Omega? I gasped. I knew this moment would come. Though the accident wasn't fatal, it was enough trouble for me. Probably during the treatment, the doctors noticed my Omega traits. With a twitch of my slightly numb face, I asked, why are you digging into this? I'm worried about you. I didn't appreciate it. I'm not as pathetic as you think. Save your pity. Williams was handsome with sharp features, 1 in 100, but now he had lost his usual superiority. Sorry. He said, so Davey is from you and another alpha? I was a bit stunned. Apparently, he still didn't know Davey was his son. I nodded and lied without remorse. Yes. After a brief silence, he asked, what about your glands? I knew I couldn't hide it and wasn't going to try. Removed. After giving birth to Davey, I barely had any income. To survive, I had to take hard manual labor jobs, but people refused me once they learned I was an Omega. Even those willing to hire me couldn't avoid some harassment from alphas. So I had my glands removed. Without glands, an Omega cannot produce pheromones normally, which shortens their lifespan. Over time, they gradually weaken and die. But since I was originally an alpha who secondarily differentiated into an Omega, the doctor said I was tough and could live another 20 years easily. Losing my glands made me live like a normal person. Hearing this, Williams froze like he'd been struck by lightning, standing there dumbfounded. The room fell into a heavy silence. He clenched his jaw and wore a pitiful expression I'd never seen on him before. Why didn't you tell me? Why should I? I could protect you. That's the funniest joke I've ever heard. I even wondered if the one who got in an accident was actually him and not me, and maybe he'd hit his head hard. Maybe you should register at the hospital and have your brain checked. Since he knew I was an Omega now, there was no need to keep pretending. This room reeks of your scent. Could you please tone it down? I'd smelled it as soon as I woke. Williams released a lot of calming pheromones, but they didn't affect me anymore. Just then, Ion returned. Knowing our bad relationship, he didn't even look kindly at Williams. He came to my bedside and pushed Williams aside. Even with a temper, Williams didn't dare argue. He stood behind like a discarded dog, looking lost. You feeling better? I'm fine. I didn't want Ion to worry, but only I knew how much pain I was in. Ion was very thoughtful. Knowing what I wanted, he poured me a cup of warm water. 15. Not long after I woke up, Patrick came to visit me with Davey. Davey saw the firm casts on my arms and legs and burst into heartbreaking tears, his eyes swollen from crying. So much had happened recently. Because of the accident, I'd already missed many days of work. I called my boss, but before I could say anything, he yelled at me non-stop. He told me not to come back, blamed me for delaying the project due to absenteeism, and said he wouldn't pay the remaining salary. Our already tight family finances were pushed into a crisis. During my hospital stay, Williams kept showing up at my bedside. He tried the same old tactic, asking me to stay at his place to recover, but I refused. I didn't want to owe him anything, especially not for no reason. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to repay him. He didn't give up, though. I don't know who taught him, but he started learning nursing skills and awkwardly cared for me. Someone like him, born into a world that spins around him, always served by others, how could he know how to take care of someone? Adwan, let me feed you some fruit. Adwan, I'll wipe you down. Adwan, I'll push you out for a walk. Adwan. I was fed up and pretended to be asleep, ignoring him. He leaned closer, softly calling my name. Getting no response, he came even closer, close enough that I could feel his breath. The faint scent of cypress pheromones lingered at my nose. It smelled nice. Just as I was enjoying the moment, his soft lips suddenly covered mine. I sensed something was wrong and snapped my eyes open. Williams probably didn't expect me to wake up so suddenly and hurriedly stepped back. What are you doing? A moment ago, he looked guilty, but then he touched his lips with a satisfied grin. I told you to ignore me, that's your punishment. Such a rogue. On the day I was discharged, Patrick said he wanted to talk to me. It was just the two of us in the room. He looked at my injuries and apologized sincerely. I'm sorry. I bear some responsibility for what happened. I was puzzled. What does this have to do with you? I'll explain later. He sat down. First, let's talk about what you and Davey will do next. That was the last thing I wanted to hear. He pulled out a photo and handed it to me. I looked closely and was startled, not because the person in the photo was ugly or strange, but because the child looked exactly like Davey. I couldn't believe they weren't related. Seeing my reaction, Patrick smiled and said, "This is a photo of Williams as a child. They look very alike, don't they?" The moment I saw Davey, I knew he was one of ours. I was shocked, breaking out in a cold sweat. So that day, he recognized Davey was William's child. Was he suddenly telling me this because he wanted to take Davey away? Afraid I'd deny it, he showed me a DNA test result. Seeing it made my head spin. He asked, "Are you not going to tell him the truth?" No, I forced myself to stay calm and almost begged, "Please don't tell him about Davey." Patrick, acting as an outsider, asked, "Can you tell me why?" I promise not to tell anyone. This stays between us. I trusted him. If he were that kind of person, he'd have told Williams already. After a moment's thought, I said, "He won't like Davey, and I never planned to make him responsible for the child." Patrick asked, "How do you know he doesn't like Davey?" I looked down and stared blankly at my thigh. He said Davey's poorly behaved and a burden. Hearing this, Patrick felt guilty. I didn't raise him well. I apologize. That's not your fault. I never got along with him anyway. Patrick was curious. Where did it all start? I told him about high school, hoping he'd understand and not try to fight me for custody of Davey. Patrick just smiled. Are you sure he meant that towards you? I nodded. Besides that, has he ever hurt you physically? I shook my head. No, he hadn't. That was already bad enough. He told me what he'd seen and heard. I think that kid actually likes Davey. Maybe it's not as bad as you think. But I stuck to my decision. If Williams suddenly treated me well, besides guilt, I couldn't think of any other reason. Patrick said, "I respect your choice, but have you thought about what's best for Davey?" His words hit me hard. I won't interfere with you too, but I hope you think carefully. The meaning was clear. If Davey stayed with me, his life would be unstable and unsettled. But if he stayed with the Fong family, he'd get a quality education and a much better life. Then he handed me a card. Seeing it, I came back to myself. It was the same bank card I had given Williams. He said they found the real culprit who scratched the car. Davey was innocent. Also, I deposited some extra money as a little compensation for you and the child. My emotions were like a roller coaster, up and down. I just want my share. Patrick said, it'll be hard for me to complete someone's mission if you do that. That kid is socially awkward and blunt. Just forgive him this once. I thought for a moment, knowing exactly who he meant. You haven't told me the reason yet. Patrick smiled faintly. I just wanted to test your feelings for that foolish kid. But I already have my answer. Don't be mad. 16. After talking with Patrick, Williams immediately rushed up. Patrick told him, can't help you, good luck, and left. I don't know what they were plotting. Ion parked the car and asked if I was ready to leave. I nodded. Thanks for your help again. No need to be so formal. Ion pushed my wheelchair, but Williams grabbed the handle and wouldn't let go. Ion politely said, please move aside. Williams ignored him and said, I can take you too. I refused firmly. Then Davey suddenly said, Daddy, I want Uncle to take me home. Hearing that, I nearly choked on my anger. What a spoiled kid. 17. In the end, it was still Williams who drove us home. We got into his recently bought Ferrari, and the drive was smooth and quick. It was Davey's first time riding in such a fancy car, and when we got home, he was still excited. Uncle, your car is so cool. Williams pinched his chubby cheek. How about Davey comes to ride in Uncle's car every day from now on? Okay. Davey turned into a little fanboy, happily saying, my classmate's dad drives a luxury car. Everyone in class is so jealous. Me. Since when did this kid become so vain? Well, Davey won't have to envy anyone anymore. Uncle will pick you up and drop you off at school every day. No. Davey said seriously. When I grow up and make money, I'll buy my dad a car too, so everyone can envy my dad. Looks like I misjudged him. This son wasn't raised for nothing. I don't know what kind of charm potion Williams put on Davey, but he really liked him a lot. When we said goodbye, Davey held Williams' hand tightly and invited him to visit our home. I quickly stopped him, Uncle's very busy, don't bother him. Williams broke the usual script and said, I'm free, not busy at all. I rolled my eyes. This guy wasn't just a little free, he was way too free. You go ahead if you have things to do. Williams insisted, I really don't. Davey tugged at him, Uncle, come to my house. I'll show you the big bird I have. Davey's big bird was a toy phoenix I bought him for his 4th birthday. You could tell he really loved it. He invited everyone to come see his bird. 18. Williams toured our house. Though he didn't say much, his furrowed brow said it all. Davey couldn't wait to get to his room and share his big bird with him. Last time Grandpa took me somewhere, their birds could fly. Why can't mine fly? Uncle, is it sick? He still remembered when Patrick took him to see the warship and always got excited when talking about it. I recalled what Patrick told me. Davey's future wouldn't be good with me, but if he left me and went back to the Fong family. Williams didn't stay long, he got a call and had to leave. Before leaving, he asked, you didn't answer my question last time. Can you now? What question? He said, will you go out with me? I'm sincere. My breath caught. My heart felt heavy, and I couldn't say a word. He seemed worried I'd refuse and hurried to add, I'll treat Davey like my own son and never wrong him. I didn't know why he wanted to date me, but I knew we were never meant for each other, never. Sorry, I can't agree. After being rejected, Williams stood frozen, looking at me like a forsaken dog. Finally, he grabbed his coat and walked away without looking back. Davey came to me with his beloved Phoenix toy. Why did Uncle leave? I comforted him, Uncle has his own family and work. Let's not bother him. Davey sadly said, okay. 19. After I rejected Williams that day, he never showed up again. Life returned to peacefulness for Davey and me. Davey was angry because Williams broke his promise. He always remembered Williams' promise that day. So he bragged to his classmates about how great his uncle was, but from dawn till dusk, Williams never showed. Bad uncle. Humph. I'm not talking to him anymore. Davey was totally disappointed. He cried himself to sleep thinking about Williams. I never expected Williams to leave so decisively. At first, I thought about telling him about Davey, but now I realize it was better not to. Otherwise, I can't imagine what kind of trouble might have followed. It's funny, this was exactly what I wanted, yet I still feel a bit sad inside. 20. Once I recovered, I went to the Fong family's place. From a distance, I saw Williams. Just as I was about to greet him, I noticed a delicate Omega beside him. They looked like a perfect match. I wondered why he suddenly disappeared. Turns out he had a new love. My heart tightened. A liar who deceived my feelings. I came this time to return the extra money Patrick gave me. He gave way too much, unearned and undeserved. I handed the card to a maid and left. Afterward, I changed my phone number. My new job was farther away, and my lease was ending. I found a place between Davey's school and my work to settle. On moving day, Williams suddenly appeared. I don't know what he'd been through, but he looked exhausted, bloodshot eyes, as if he hadn't rested properly for a long time. Trying to avoid me. Changing numbers and moving again. Adwan, are you playing hide and seek like you did back then? I didn't know what nonsense he was talking about. He was the one who disappeared, now he blamed me. Why? Why are you so heartless to me? I shrugged off his hand irritably. What are you crazy about now? He suddenly laughed. I really went crazy. 5 years ago, when I couldn't reach you, I was already mad. I searched for you for 5 years. 5 whole years. Adwan, am I that worthless? He looked at me sadly, eyes reddened, like he'd been gravely wronged. I was ready to step back. Even if we weren't partners, we could still be friends. Why won't you give me that chance? I twitched my lips, never realizing how deeply my leaving had hurt him. After leaving Haishur City, I worried my father's people would come after me, so I changed all my contact info. Even my work ID was arranged by Ion. He said he searched for me for 5 years, but I never knew. Don't get upset. I just moved for work reasons. Hearing that, Williams seemed hopeful again. When he looked up at me, a tear shot down his cheek like a shooting star. Really? He had never shown such humility before me. Then why did you change your number? Do you want the honest truth? Williams didn't ask, but his eager eyes gave him away. The SIM card belonged to my old company. Since I don't work there anymore, it's normal to return it. His tense body slowly relaxed. After hesitating, I finally asked. You said you were looking for me. Why? Why were you looking for me? 21. His expression suddenly froze, and his ears flushed bright red. Adwan, you have no heart. Do I have to admit it myself, that I like you so much it hurts? From the moment I first saw you, I liked you. Only then will you understand how I feel. I was stunned. He likes me. From the very first sight? Impossible. Williams and I met in high school. I was always bad at physical training, and classmates didn't want to team up with me, fearing it would hurt their scores. But Williams broke the rules, he asked the instructor to pair with me. From then on, my life was miserable. I remember him looking at me and saying, how is an alpha so skinny? Could it be an omega pretending to be an alpha? Take off your pants so I can check. That wasn't all. He stole my crushes, my food, and made me his lackey. So this is what he calls liking someone. Who treats someone they like that? Don't try to make me happy. How could you possibly like me? Williams looked like he was about to lose it, pain written all over his face, and finally spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood dripped from his lips, he casually wiped it away, looking at me with deep intensity. Adwan, are you trying to kill me with anger? This sudden turn left me speechless. He pulled a key from his pocket, wiped the blood off, and tossed it to me. I've been waiting for you all these 5 years. Do you know how happy I was when I saw you that day? I stared at the old-fashioned key in my hand, my pupils trembling. It was the key to my old house, the one I used to live in, a place even my parents didn't know about. My mouth hung open, shocked. Williams struggled to sit up and said softly, "Do you believe me now?" My heart twisted into knots. I believe you. After turning Omega, I had moved away. That place was a secret to everyone. Worried about his health, I said, "You should go to the hospital first." The weak man barely moved, like a wounded beast. "Will I still find you when I get back?" I sighed in resignation, "I'll go with you." At the hospital, the doctor said it was nothing serious, just stress and excitement causing the bleeding. A couple of days rest would fix it. Since he was fine, it was time for me to leave. Williams followed closely, afraid I'd vanish like magic. "I'm not your prisoner. Why are you sticking so close?" He wouldn't give up. "Adwan, give me a chance. I'll cherish you and love you." I was speechless. Don't you already have a partner?" Williams looked confused. "When did I? How come I don't know?" Soon, he remembered something. "That day, you saw everything." I nodded silently. His face darkened, no longer explaining. "I'll take you somewhere." 22. I rarely saw him so serious and solemn. Before I could refuse, he dragged me into the car. He took me to a private elite hospital, leading me confidently to a VIP ward. The door opened, revealing an Omega inside, who shrank back as if frightened. Once recognizing Williams, the Omega relaxed. "Williams, you're here." I'd seen this Omega before, the one I met at the manor that day. He wore a white and blue hospital gown, his face unusually anxious, as if waiting for something. "Why did you bring me here?" Williams said, "You'll know soon." When he took me for a checkup, I didn't notice anything at first, only when I overheard him talking with the doctor did I realize. "Congratulations. The tissue match is very good. The transplant surgery can be done as early as next month." Joy finally appeared on Williams' face. "That's great." He held my hand to share the happiness, but the Omega behind him looked pale as paper. He was truly desperate. "So the time you disappeared, you were getting glands for me?" Williams' face showed uncontrollable joy. "Yes. After the transplant, you won't have to suffer anymore. I'll always be by your side." "You're crazy." I took off my wristband and threw it into the trash without looking back. 23. I never expected Williams to be this reckless. In the capital city, performing unauthorized gland transplants is a capital offense. He was so desperate he didn't care about his own life. He came to me, asking why I couldn't trust him. Just one more step and I could be like a normal Omega. Even then, he didn't realize his mistake. "If you want to keep seeing me, please don't do things that hurt others and yourself. Otherwise, I will take Davey and disappear from your life for good." Williams knelt on the ground, frustrated and defeated. He looked pitiful, his eyes dim with helplessness. "I understand." I glanced at him. He really looked like a dog. A foolish dog. Why keep kneeling? Williams slowly lifted his head, confused by my words, looking dazed. "Isn't this how you date? Who dates while kneeling?" 24. After school, I went to pick up Davey. He was still sulking about being stood up. "Uncle is bad. He lied to me. Now everyone at school laughs and says I'm a liar." He crossed his arms and pouted, ignoring Williams. Williams was good with kids and quickly cheered Davey up with a few words. Davey straightened his back in front of classmates. "See? This is my uncle. My uncle is an S-class alpha. His house is like a palace. Have you ever seen a palace?" Classmates gave envious looks. Earlier, Davey was isolated, but now surrounded by kids wanting to be friends. I hurried to pull the two noisy kids away. Sure enough, that night I got a long message from Davey's teacher, several pages that made my eyes ache. I promised the teacher I would educate Davey well so it wouldn't happen again. Patrick also knew about my dating Williams. He held a grand party at home to welcome Davey and me. When do you plan to tell that fool Davey that he's his real son? When the time is right. I appeared calm, but inside I was shaky. I had lied before, saying Davey's father was dead. If Williams found out the truth, he would definitely come after me. Eventually, the secret was out. Williams learned Davey's true identity. He confronted me with the DNA test report. His dad is dead? I smiled awkwardly. Let me explain. Explain what? I didn't expect him to be so emotional. Before I could figure out what to say, he suddenly pulled me into his arms as if he wanted to merge me into his flesh and blood. His body trembled slightly, voice hoarse. It's been hard raising a kid alone all these years, hasn't it?